made that with dollars we can buy goods. So, so is the case with the euro. We've got the euro. It used to be Finnish marks. We've got the euro now. Unfortunately, I can't get very many dollars with my euros anymore. The exchange rate has gone very badly to my mind. But nevertheless, there's a kind of constraint that's being fulfilled to currency. Okay, then the naturalist constraint, and that's the one that we're really interested in today. Although that says something about the kind of constraint and kind of question as well. So, if we are supposed to have a natural kind, well, then the resemblance that we're interested in should be due to this this naturalness, these joint carving properties. Now, those of you who were in Joel's class, we talked about this idea of joint carving. This is just another way to express the idea that there's something natural. So I don't think that calling these natural properties joint carving adds anything to the table. That just means that there's some sort of divisions in reality that these terms are supposed to latch onto. So really we're just kind of circling around the same idea, and clarifying that idea is the important task here. Okay, that out of the way, let's start with the kind of question. Now, this is just going to be a picture of some of the options that are out in the literature. We can go back to them in more detail if you're interested in. But I'm more interested in the naturalist question today. But let's make some progress with the kind of question first. So this is another way to put the million question that I mentioned before. The natural similarities that underpin natural kinds should be separated from the natural similarities that do not. The whiteness or the currency question well, the currency is not natural similarity necessarily at all, but the whiteness question and question of gold, for instance, of gold is natural. So your answer to this question, this million challenge, might depend on the ontological weight, what I call the ontological weight that you're willing to admit for natural kinds. So how much metaphysics are you willing to buy into, basically? And here we have classic options. You can be in favor of some sort of theory of universals, which comes in many varieties, Platonist and Aristotelian versions, or you could be a nominalist and you don't think that there's any sort of a universal that corresponds to these natural properties, you know, a universal whiteness or universal that's behind the natural properties. Now, a lot of people in this debate do buy into the talk about universals. Catherine Hawley and Alexander Bird certainly do. Who I get this quote from. But I'll look later on into someone who doesn't. And I think that this is not a question that we should put too much weight on, because whether you think that there are these universals or whatever your view about universals is, I think that you should say something about natural kinds. And we'll get to that eventually. So we can separate this question, this universalism, nominalism question from the question of kinds. But if we go with the side that assumes universals, we still have a lot of different options in the literature. I'm not going to be talking about these in any detail. This is just to lay out the ground. You might think that even though they are universals, the kinds correspond to particulars rather than universals. So there's a view in the philosophy of biology literature where biological species are really just individuals. You can't identify biological kinds except as individuals. That's a contested view, but that's a view that's out there. Another question is whether the universals that you assume are simple or complex. Now, what that means is just that you have these natural properties, different kinds of things, that are natural in one sense or another, and the kinds, are they going to be just the natural properties or some sort of clusters, some sort of combinations of these natural properties? And if you go for the latter option, then you might think that the kinds correspond to complex universals. This is the view that Alexander Byrne and Catherine Bourne take. So, give you an example. You might think that if gold is a natural kind, the element gold is a natural kind, it will involve several natural properties. It will involve the mass of gold, perhaps, and maybe some properties like the melting point of gold, or other things, other chemical properties of gold. But these are all things that we might consider as natural properties. The mass of gold, its melting point, and nuclear charge, so on. Together, all these different natural properties might constitute the natural kind, gold. So in that case, you might want to identify the natural kind gold with this complex of these various properties that you think are natural, complex universal. Okay, so that's one view. And then there's a view that Brian Ellis and E.J. Lowe, who was my PhD supervisor actually, have favored, which I'll label as natural kind fundamentals. And that's what I like to think of as an Aristotelian idea, that the natural kinds are really something that's in the basic layer of reality. They form an ontological category in the sense that Aristotle talked about. Aristotle had, well, it's contestable, but let's say 10 ontological categories. And natural kinds would be really basic metaphysics on this view. Now, I won't try to defend any of these views or argue much against any of these views here, but these are some of the basic options that are out. But there's more. There's a distinction between natural kinds as identical or reducible to some other entity, such as sets or classes, or universals, something else than these kind universals that we were talking about. David Armstrong and Quine have various versions of these views. Quine thinks that natural kinds are just sets, in a sense. And there's a view that natural kinds are some sort of emergent entities. So they're not part of the basic layer of reality, but they emerge from some sort of combination. And you can't directly reduce the natural kinds on this view to anything smaller, anything more basic. They're a genuine emergent entity. Now, I don't know how much you know about emergence. It's once again an up-and-coming topic, but it used to be that the typical example of emergence was emergence in philosophy of mind. So mental states are emergent, and you can't just reduce them to material states. So that's one view anyway. But nowadays, there's a lot of literature on emergence. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about this, but Richard Boyd has this theory that's very popular, a very popular option in the natural kinds literature now, called the homeostatic property cluster theory. You don't have to know about what that means. The HPC theory. I'll say a little bit about that as I go on, mostly in critical way. But you can just think of it as the idea that it's the causal mechanism that the kind has that identifies it in a sense. So whatever influence it has on the world in a way, that's what identifies the kind. Okay. We can get back to these, but I don't want to say too much about them because I'm not going to go into detail about them. But let me just say that the first option there, especially Quine's option, I don't think that that's genuine natural kind realism as I've defined it, because it shifts the explanatory power that we usually associate with natural kinds to something else than the kinds. It's actually the sets that are doing the work here. Let me put the full slide there. So it looks to me that if you think that natural kinds are just sets, that the resemblance between the kinds is the membership in some sort of a set, then what's doing the explanation here, explaining the resemblance between the different things, is the membership in the set rather than the kind itself. So this is a fully reductive account of natural kinds. Really, on this view, it seems that there's, as Armstrong would put it, no addition to being than being the set here. It's, in a way, to think of natural kinds as an ontological free lunch. Go ahead.
How does that contrast with the view that kinds are natural kinds are complexes of properties?
Well, I suppose that on that view you would take the natural properties seriously. Now there's still open questions about what brings the complex together. Furthermore, we do have some sort of story about it. But on Quine's view, there's